DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
Okay, I assumed, but I was like, am I just oblivious and didn't see him before? Okay.
It's Halloween.
Yeah, we didn't do costumes tonight.
We didn't.
So there's my, see, Dan, it's my Halloween.
Yeah,
nice.
Shane's on it. The rest of us are just a bunch of bums. If I tape a battery to my forehead, did that make me the Duracell? No.
Oh.
Okay, hey, we're live. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. If you missed the first show, we were looking at 70s music on the Chew channel that we have. Chew channel. That's tougher to say than I thought. We're at chew.tv/discjockey news. We looked at some of the best songs from 70 Volume 2 from Promo Only and talked about a few things, and I mislabeled a few songs and mixed it without my eyes or my ears, and we just had a bad time.
It was a good show. I liked it.
Actually, it was kind of a fun show because you guys got to hear some of the songs that are personal faves in there, and you found out the reason why I would have bought that DVD 3 or 4 times. So if you're not into 70s music or you're wanting to learn a little bit more, it's probably a good little walk down some 70s tunes. But tonight, we're here to talk about important things. MJ, this week it's your topic. What do you got for us?
Was it my topic?
Yeah, I hope so, because I did last week, and I that's all the thinking I can do for a month.
I guess it was. This one's pretty simple this week, and I don't know where it's going to lead to in conversation-wise, but when it happened, and then the funny thing is that I should always talk to one of you three after I ever do one of these, because every topic I think I pick, you guys, one of you has some inside information on. And, it's always been something, even when we did the thing with Mariah Carey, I should have talked to Shani. She had some inside information. As soon as I talked about this one, John popped up that, he knew some information on it. But for those of you who don't know, there are DJ trade shows all over the world, like literally. Like I've seen ones, not personally been to them, but ones in China, ones in Germany, Brazil, the UK, and even far off exotic lands like Canada have DJ shows. But there's a really, really big one in the UK that was called BPM or BPM Pro, depending on how you kind of looked at it. And it's one that I thought I always wanted to go and see because it always interests me in the way it is. Well, after this year's show, they announced that they're no longer going to have the BPM event at all. So what they're doing instead of having the BPM event, they've split it up into 4 different conferences or expos, or I'm not really sure what would be the right term. And I think what they're splitting it into, we're going to go over and talk about what they've split it into. I kind of thought I saw it going that way, the whole industry, not just the UK side of it. I really feel our industry is I don't want to say separating in a bad way, but I think it's more defining, and I think it's good. What they did is they're going to split it up into 4 categories. First one is called gig, like a gig. It's for the professional entertainer show. It is an event for DJs, singers, performers, bands, and more. So, which is kind of DJ oriented, but I think that grabs the mobile DJ a lot. The next one, I'll go through them real quick, and then we can go back and talk about them.
Yep.
Next one is Worship Technology Show, a trade show specifically that specifies installers and users of sound and lighting and audio-visual equipment for places of worship. The third one is Club and Bar. It's a trade show that specializes for installers that use sound and lighting equipment in a club or bar scene. And the final one is Live Production Show, a trade show that is for installers and users of sound and lighting equipment for stages and tours and festivals. So it is sort of the same. The gig is sort of the same as BPM, but it's different. And John, you had inside information as soon as I said that about this.
Yeah, we had talked I know the gentleman who started the BPM show actually was two shows that were kind of came together. Was the best way to describe it. One, it was more geared towards the club DJ and a bedroom DJ, and then the mobile side they were just a little bit different. There was more gear tech in one and more of the mobile in the other. And then over time, it kind of evolves, and it wasn't serving either audience, I don't think, to the desire that they wanted. But it was a huge show. I mean, there was a lot of traffic came through, because in the UK, you can't go outside and throw a McDonald's cheeseburger and not hit a DJ or two. It's just the way it is.
I feel that way here in the U.S. I feel it's just as bad.
Probably in some areas it is. I suppose that everyone's a DJ, but I think and maybe it's just me being naive, but I think at least when we're doing it, that there's people who are trying to get paid for what they do, and maybe when you get into a larger metro area, that's not the case. But a lot of the guys over there it's just a beer money type thing where they go, or not beer money, but it's playing for a bar tab for the night. If they go and do that, and that's what it is, or they're, it's an experience, and they can hire DJs, bring DJs in for experience, and never pay one of them, and they can do this for months at a time because there's just this unending flow of DJs who would kill to be on that stage for whatever reason.
It's still here. I still hear it all the time. In fact, I know two clubs that have contacted me about starting a night for them where they don't pay the DJ. They want me to come in and promote a night where they don't pay the DJ. So I think it is. I think this industry has grown beyond. And when I talk about DJs, I really do think of the DJ community beyond those of us who get paid on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really do include the bedroom DJs and the people who have Facebook pages, DJ so-and-so, but yet have never DJ'd out. It's a big, and I think that this splitting of the things kind of embraces that too.
A little bit, but I think you're also seeing where the money is going within the industry right now is that the DJs for a period of time seem to be a kind of a cash cow area for the manufacturers, where they would come in and they're like, hey, these guys are going to buy gear, and they're going to be buying new gear each and every year. Well, as gear has gotten better, and the unfortunate DJ prices hasn't increased as inflation has, that to a point DJs they don't have as much disposable income for gear as they once did, and they're not needing to buy. Because I have, early on, if I got a year or two out of a set of speakers, I was pretty happy to a point, between speakers, amps, and mixer. Now, I mean, I've had one malfunction really of a piece of gear in the last 5 years. That was something that I just had to replace. Otherwise, everything just kind of continues on.
Was it software that crapped out on you?
No. It was.
Did it begin with an M?
No. No. My Mac is doing fine. Thank you.
There's this problem. He thought Mac was software.
Well, there is that. But yeah, it's one of those things. I think that there's just not as much going. So what you're seeing is a transition from some of the companies now trying to get into gig. Of course, is going to be your DJ type convention. Although it's interesting that they're trying to expand it into the other areas, which is kind of what some of us we tried to do back in the early 2000s, is expanding a DJ convention to a wedding event professional conference. This would have been just ahead of Wedding MBA when they took off. But trying to make it so it's for photographers, videographers, and different things such as that. That's what I think they're trying to do there. Then
do you think this one includes the videographers and photographers and the photo booths? Or do you think this is mainly going to be the performer, like the wedding performer, the wedding MC, etc.?
I think you're going to see that coming in after the fact, but I think they're trying to expand it in a similar way that like we tried to expand a couple of our shows, and there's been a few others that have tried to do that. It's just we didn't go after singers and the lounge singers or whatever the other entertainers are, because there are some applicable skills back and forth, but there's also some things that are completely different when you're trying to do that. And it becomes tough to program and schedule speakers to be able to hit these different things unless you have 3 or 4 completely different tracks. So you have the performer event. Then you had one that was going for doing house of worship. Well, we have WFX here in the United States, which basically is the largest event for churches to come to learn how to do sound and lighting in their church. Then you mentioned one that was more lighting tech. Well, LDI is coming up here at the end of November. And for lighting techs. And then what was the third one was?
Club and Bar was the one, which I think that LDI to me is it it appears to me to be more towards the last one, the live production show for like concerts and tours and festivals.
Sure.
I think LDI is close. In my opinion, I think it's closer to that. The clubs and bars, I mean, that could be anything from a jukebox, the automatic jukeboxes on up.
Yeah, and that's in May. Nightclub and Bar in Las Vegas is one of the largest shows that they have out there. And
that is a big show, yeah. It's
a big show, and if you've ever been to a nightclub and bar, you usually only remember about 2 or 3 hours a day. There's not too many shows you go into, and you might as well just kind of bring a little cart or something, one of those little walkers with you, because after about 4 or 5 booths, you're already the room is starting to spin. Yeah, when there's.
I remember you did a video one year. You covered it, and they were totems of some sort. And you're like, I don't know who makes these. I don't know where they're at. I don't know who's selling them, but I like them. Yeah. And there was like no name. And it was like we ended up I watched the video like 3 or 4 times. Finally, I saw as he panned across, it was a rental place. That was showing stuff they rented.
Yeah, there was a few times where there's things like that. And after some of those shows, they're tough to. So it's interesting that that's the direction Mark is going, because at one time I think he was trying to get out of the DJ or the production of the DJ shows. And I think part of the reason why he wanted to do that is, and we've talked about in past shows, is that the future for these shows is in question. Because you've got, what's going on at the DJ Expo. Will people still come to these things? Are they going to come with their money? Are they coming to do the education? There's just so many question marks, and these things are very expensive to put on. And you talk to most DJs, and they're like, well, why would I go pay to learn? Why would I do this? Why? I can go to YouTube and I can watch things like this.
I think that's the thing too, is the percentage of DJs that go to conferences.
Very much so. And it's such a small percentage. I mean, we like to think that it's like everybody knows, about DJ Expo. No. People an hour away have no idea DJ Expo exists, which just kind of floors me at times. But yeah,
and people who are more than an hour away just decide, oh, well, I don't want to travel. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go. I don't want to fly. I don't want to drive. I don't want to this. I don't want to that. So they don't want to. So they're like, well, I want one in my city. So they just don't even want to go to a conference.
And that always astounds me, because and as someone who's put shows on, you've got the people who are going to always find an excuse no matter what. They're the ones who will be like, hey, put a show. And not to pick on Atlanta. Somebody mentioned Atlanta, but that for the number of times I've heard people say, can you put a show in Atlanta? There have been 2 or 3 DJ shows, one of which was almost on the level of losing money as the top show, the top money losing show. And AC3 or A3, one of the two, is what they did in Atlanta. And it sounded like it was a fabulous event. I didn't go because at the time I wasn't doing the trade shows like I am today. It sounded like it was a great lineup and such, but no one came. Atlanta should be a hub. It should be able to draw people, but it didn't. So when you have people who are like, yeah, put it in Charlotte, North Carolina, put it in St. Louis, or put it in Denver, all great locations. But then you'll have some of those same people will be like, yeah, I couldn't go because of, that's the week that I've got a gig. Oh, on a Tuesday night, and Monday and Tuesday nights you have gigs that you couldn't take off for a week, or, have a buddy fill in or something. But there's always an excuse.
Right. It's always an excuse. And I understand the people that have jobs like a school job or, those type of jobs where you can't take off work, like those type of jobs where it's just, you can't do it. I understand those, but the ones that turn around and say, well, if I take off, I have to this, I have to that. And it's like, well, these dates we know way ahead of time. You know how much it's going to cost.
The expo, not as far as we'd like.
Yeah. Right. Not as far as we like, but you kind of know the general, when it's going to be, the general cost. So, and we've talked about this before on our show about putting even just $20 away each week and just kind of putting it away, how people put, like the pennies in a jar. If you just put like $20, because if it's not the location, it's always, well, I don't have the money. It's that excuse, for the people that say, well, the location is not convenient for me. Then the second excuse we've always heard about, well, I don't have the money to go this year. And it's like, okay, well, did you think ahead of time to put the money aside? So it's like, we just keep hearing those excuses. And if we get the people to go, and the majority of the people that then do go, these conferences will then keep happening. But if nobody's going, then I keep, you hear everybody complain like, well, there's no conferences. Well, did you go?
I would say I'm kind of surprised. I don't know, my head of the split. I almost feel like because one of the things that we've heard is, and at least over here, is that, sometimes because of the different numbers of shows, and especially when there was like a few in Vegas, all within like a month or two of each other, that, some of the companies were not wanting to put the advertising into having a booth and promoting, because it was like boom, and then they turn around 2 weeks later, they were there again, and it just became kind of this headache. I'm kind of surprised that they went the direction of 4 separate shows rather than making their one mega show better. And maybe it's a little different over there as far as the numbers of shows within a close proximity, but in my head, I'm thinking, I wonder if they would have been better to have kind of, one major area and have like different tracks. The worship track, you're over here, the gig track, you're over here, and, cater to, let's make it huge. And I don't know, that was the first thought that came to my mind when you brought the story forward. I'm like, they're splitting this up. Like, I mean, I think of NAMM, and I think of like just how many people flock to NAMM because it's all the different. And I know it's a little different, obviously, than a normal show, but I also think of like it's all the different areas converging at one place.
See, and I think the argument for that would be, if I know I'm gearing towards churches, I'm going to show specific lighting. If I'm going to gear it towards live entertainment and touring, I'm going to have different lighting. And then if I'm gearing it towards mobile DJs, and the three are so completely different in some aspects that unless you have a huge booth, which could be cost prohibitive in that situation, I guess I would see the benefits of having multiple shows. The question will become, though, is if you can get enough houses of worship to attend. Because if you look at the religious studies side of the European religious establishment, it's in that kind of a postmodern world where you have people who are moving away from their faith. And some of these, it's beneficial in some ways because some of these churches are trying to renovate and trying to become more modernized and become more applicable or attractive to the younger person. So they're looking for technology. I mean, that's what we're doing in the States also. But they're also not coming back to the churches at the level that, even if they do some of these changes and updates and such. So is it a market that they're going to hit and it'll be there and gone quickly? Is it going to be a market that's going to stay? Is it going to be a market that'll even come to something like this? Those are all questions that, unfortunately, time is going to be the only thing that will answer those.
Keep in mind that 2 of them are going to be October 2018 for the gig. The worship is November 2018. And then the club and bar and the live production show aren't till spring of 2019. So I don't know.
Spreading out a little bit more
too. I think what they're doing is that, and they're not all at the same exact area within the UK too. They're not like all at the same, place. I honestly, like I said, it made sense to me because people are very cliquish, and I don't think the church people would want to go to an expo with a bunch of DJs, because I've literally had churches that I've worked with over the years go, "Oh, you DJ in bars and clubs, we can't have you," for no other reason than that.
Yep.
So I think that there's a separation there, and I also think the guys who do the live tours look at DJs and go, "That's small time." If you're not spending $3,000 on a single light, that's not a real light. You know what I mean? I think that live production, I think they see themselves a little differently. So I think the separation is hitting. They're probably going to be much smaller, John. I'm guessing they have to be.
I would think
much smaller.
I would definitely think so. But then on the flip side is that when you're doing a trade show, especially if you're doing year one, you're sticking a ton of money into the show to do it and do it right. You're sticking tens of thousands of dollars over what you're estimating you're going to bring in for income, because you're not selling year one, you're really selling tickets for year 2 and year 3, and hopefully year 2. So they're going to have to put the money in there because they need to have the exhibit hall be big enough so the churches are like, yeah, we need to send someone there, and yeah, we need to come back next year because there's so much here to learn. The biggest the biggest killer of a show will be a low turnout, because then your exhibitors aren't going to come back. And the second will be as if people get the feeling they come and they experience the show and they're like, this is a show I could see coming back to every other year. As a producer of a show, that is really the kiss of death, because then if you happen to hit a year where you don't have the greatest lineup and you don't have the people coming and you do this and you have exhibitors who are like, yeah, no, this is a bad year, I don't think we're going to re-up for next year, it becomes this spiraling down trend. And you're seeing that, and you're going to see more of that in 2018, unfortunately, because those things do happen.
I think it was interesting because it was right after, and I don't know if all you guys got it, but I got an email from the DJ Expo asking, would you come back next year? Would you prefer to be at such and such? And they're looking at that, as even the same town, the same show, the same place, the same time of year. Two different hotels can make a big difference, so that selling point, is going to be hard for them splitting it. But I don't know. I just see the people as being four different people, because I honestly see them that way. The people who are the ones that do the wedding shows don't see themselves as a club person, and a person who does all the lighting and stuff in a club do not see themselves. You could possibly cross those over, because I know people who do sound and lighting installation, and they'll do it in churches and bars and restaurants and walking malls and everything. Mm-hmm. So there's some separation there, I think, that is smart, but it's going to be hard. I mean, it's my opinion. I was surprised that they did it, because I always thought the BPM show. Did you hear that it wasn't making money? Is that why they did this? Or
no, it's just the trade show life is just, it's a tough situation, and you've got to be all in or you've got to be all out. It's really the dabbling is what kills a person, and if you don't have that trade show as your front and center part of your life, you can still have some success. I mean, DJ Expo is a prime example of that. They basically shelve the show. Once it's done, they wrap things up, and they don't touch it for 3 to 4 months. And that hurts their show. There's no question about it. They should right now have announced, their keynotes for next year. And they should have announced dates, and they should have been talking this, that, and the other thing. It's just, in that particular case, I don't know. Mark had been doing it for, maybe he's reaching the 10-year mark. And, somewhere at 7 to 10 years is a point where you're like, this is, what do I want to do? You've got to start to either recreate or build something. Otherwise, it continues that downward spiral. And I don't know if he just sat back and evaluated and said, if I could sell and get out of it, then I could go do what I want to do somewhere else and do a different thing. Or if he decided that if he wanted to expand, I don't. I'm not really privy to what exactly he's all doing with what the shows and such.
Shady and I are in the chat room.
Okay.
I answered that better. I think I clarified it there, Shani.
Yeah,
because they're talking about like the low end DJs to the high end DJs, and
right. And I just said, well, I DJ in a bar, so I guess I'm a bottom feeder then, because I DJ in a bar as well, and I know MG DJs in a bar, and I know other people that DJ in bars.
I did,
and we don't have down seasons, so
right.
So you guys that go, I'm struggling.
Bottom because I DJ in a bar, I'm a bottom feeder. I don't understand that.
Calm down. I blew it off.
And MJ said yes for bar tab. That's different, but that's not what was commented.
Yeah, it's a different world. If you don't know this world, this is one of the things that I want to get into heavily.
Okay, now I understand, because that's not what was said. So
okay.
Thank you. That's not the comment that was made. So I just wanted to make that very clear.
But still, if we want to bring it back to the expo side of things, because I really wonder where all this is going to, because those of us who are behind the scenes here in Disc Jockey News, we talk all the time about what we do, where it's going to go, because not beyond the trade show money, there's advertising money, and it's tightening up all the way across the scene. And people, this is the thing, because I get to work with so many different types of DJs. The wedding guys all think that everyone is them, that everyone does this, and you really don't understand that you are actually a small portion. You're not the larger portion. I believe you're probably one of the proportions that spends a lot of money. Because in my opinion, I think wedding DJs spend more money on gear and stuff than your average club DJ does. but each one is its own thing. So if you have a small 20% market that buys a lot of stuff and an 80% market that buys a little, they're both spending about the same thing, and they're both as important to the industry. So you kind of have to look at everything in that, so it's just each one does his own thing. Like I said, unless you're a part of that, you don't know. And someone who was judging with that, and I hope that we straighten that out, Shani. If you're a good DJ, you can make a solid living DJing bars in clubs without a doubt.
My opinion is I don't care where you DJ. And I know we've talked about this on other shows. I don't care if you're DJing at a VFW. Thank you, VFW.
Veterans of Foreign Wars.
No, I've done. I don't care if you're DJing at the basement of a church. I don't care if you're DJing at somebody's house. It doesn't matter to me where you're DJing, because you could be making $1,000 doing that. Let me put it this way. I ended up DJing at a bar restaurant on Halloween night that I never thought I would take the gig. And when they emailed me how much money they were giving me, I could tell the club I'm good that night. I told the bar restaurant, I'm good. Whatever time you want me there, I'll even get there early if you guys want me to start early, because I couldn't believe what they wanted to pay me. I couldn't believe it. It was just, I was like, well, okay, I don't think they realize what they're paying me, but okay. So in my opinion, I don't care where you're DJing. You do what's best for you. You do what you want to do. And people could sit there and they could talk, and I really don't care, because you know what? You know where I like to walk? I like to walk to the bank. So
they forgot to tell you it was Canadian money, but
no, it wasn't. If it was, I'm going to watch that currency rate, when it's, so it really doesn't matter to me, what people want to talk about, where I'm DJing, and I don't care. I'll social media it out too, because I don't care, because I'm smiling when and anyways, I didn't even have to go to the bank, because when they handed me that envelope and I was like, why is this envelope so thick? And then I opened it up and I was like, oh, that's why it's so thick. Okay, they must have just paid me in the money that people were eating with.
This 20 was in somebody's shoe.
There's no shame in my game. I was like, whenever you guys need me again, we don't even need a contract. You guys can just email me. I'm good. I'll take off from the club anytime you guys want. I was like, anytime. It was the easiest gig for me. So easy. So I'll take anything like that. So it doesn't matter to me. But back to our topic on hand.
Because what I was hoping that tonight wouldn't be stuck in one direction of only talking about this one show and shows, because I think the industry in a whole is changing. I think DJ's job is changing. I just recently saw, and I wasn't sure whether I was going to bring this up tonight or not, but I recently saw an interview with Jazzy Jeff. And those of you know who DJ Jazzy Jeff is. If you don't, I'm going to question your DJ prowess if you don't know who he is, at least. But he said something, and I actually heard a friend of mine who owns a chain of radio stations say the same thing. When Apple came out with the iPod and introduced Shuffle into the mix, and then we started getting stations like Bob FM and stuff, Jazzy Jeff said around 2000, the game changed, because the majority of the people who listen to music on their phones or devices that keep that in a playlist, genre-specific format are only DJs. That the majority of the other people, they could have an Ed Sheeran song followed by a Kiss song, followed by a Nelly song. And to them, that's normal. And he says that it's opened up and changed the way we DJ as open format DJs to, if you know what you're doing, you can throw stuff in that you would never expected to throw in the mix. And I think that along with the shows, the mindset of the DJ is changing a little bit too. And I don't know if we want to address that, but I thought it was kind of neat how he looked at that. And like I said, my friend who owned the radio stations called it the shuffle mentality, the iPod shuffle, when you put it on shuffle. And it's changing. And I think I don't know if you guys want to talk about that, or we can go back to whatever.
Do you think that idea there, the way you have it with the idea of the iPod shuffle, is more. Do you think there's a generation where it hits less, or an age barrier that it hits where you could kind of say, because here's the thought that I have, because in some ways I have very much of an old school programming mentality, and it comes from my radio days, especially the idea of, so many of this song in a row, then you break it when you go this direction, but you put these together because you've got to create that flow. And so that's kind of ingrained in me. But I also see it when I'm on the floor, that if I switch and go a different style, there are audience members that won't follow that. And it's usually above a certain age.
What age is that? Can I ask before I answer that? Give or take. You can think a decade or two.
I'm gonna say generally speaking, mid 40s, maybe 50s.
Okay, that is sort of a splitting point in a way, but I think that it has reached that generation through radio stations like Bob FM and whatever the other ones are in the country that play anything. I think that kind of has created a new mentality, but it's back to the DJ who is creative in not only his song choice, but his talent in mixability. And when I say song choice, I'm talking not just pick the song because it's a hit, but the right version of the right song for the right place, mixed the right way at the right time for the right amount of length of time, that you can take people on a serious journey to where I watched a guy, I can never remember who did this song. John, you're going to have to help me. It was the clapping song, Shirley, someone in the chat room from like the 1950s.
Clapping song, no.
Yeah, clap back, and it's not what you think it is.
No.
What is clap?
But it's Shirley.
Clap back, wasn't
That's a
that,
new song for now. Clap back.
No, it's wait a second here.
That's
I can find it here. Shirley, the clapping song. When was the original one? Shirley Ellis, 1965. Okay, I watched the DJ drop in the clapping song on the hook at a hip hop show, and the place went freaking nuts because the DJ knew how to bring it in. And that was one of the things, I really should maybe post the interview that Jazzy Jeff did. And he talked about how a DJ who it mixes and takes them on a journey, you may wait half a night to play one song because you're taking them there. You're going to get to this point and they're not going to expect it. And that's the whole thing about there, is that if you're dropping that odd one for that crowd, you kind of have to look. And in my mind, I would look and see how long has those 45-year-olds been out there, because they're not going to hang for more than 2 or 3 songs. So you're going to go, if they come out there, then I might trick them and try to get them to go one more song. If I get them one more song, then I've succeeded. So I think the mentality is going to expand as time goes on, because you think about people. You talk about, Dan, like, let's say your parents, how much have they, over the past, just say 5 years, embraced technology that they didn't, I'm not saying keep up with us technology, but embrace technology that they wouldn't before? Do you think that generation is getting into it a little bit more?
Yeah, I think a general rule of thumb is definitely, for example, my parents are a different story, but, family members that I have that are kind of that same generation, are embracing things, even like, Facebook. They're not really branching out into the other social medias right now, but just the idea of using that where, 10 years ago when it was coming on the scene, they never even would have grabbed a computer, let alone been on it with the idea of keeping up. And it's, it's definitely a trend where that's starting to change globally, if not anything else.
Yeah. So they're a generation that now also may have, instead of a computer, have a simple to use tablet in front of them. And they may go to a streaming service and go, I remember that song when Dan was a teenager, and play it, and I remember this one, so I think that in general, our job changes. Even Jazzy Jeff in the interview talked about how it used to be me, the DJ, showing you what good music is. And it's kind of changed to where you are bringing to me what you want to hear, where before you didn't have access to it. Before all the streaming and the internet, you didn't always have access to stuff. I'm showing it to you, but now everybody has access all at the same time to everything.
Yeah.
you kind of have to meet them in the middle.
Does that, because it makes it almost even more open format than you could have had before, we'll say. I mean, it really blows open the doors there. Does that make it easier or harder? Because I mean, and I think I think the event obviously has some to play with that. I think
if you're creative, it gives you lots of colors to paint with, in my opinion. But if you're not like that, but no, I really believe you do have the knowledge to you would cover that easily, Dan. I really do believe that. And Shaney, John, tell me your opinions on what he just asked there about harder, easier with more of an open field to play from.
I think it's one of those things that, and this is one of the reasons why I like these shows I'm doing, is that a person needs to know their music and know when you can grab a piece of a song and drop something in, because the people are going to be getting into that and accepting that a little bit more, but you've got to know the right stuff to do. And I know MJ likes to have redrum of older ones, because that redrum beat will hold on to a younger crowd just a little bit more because of that redrum. And yet the hook is from an older song that the older people, so you can get some things that are going to cross over. And I think that in 10 years, that's going to be what we're going to be doing as performers if we are still performing in the same capacity we are today. And the reason I say it that way is that we still have to see how technology is going to affect what we do and where we go, because it could get to that point where everyone is having that individual experience at such a level that a DJ, as we know it today, won't exist. It will be something else, whether it's a host.
Really funny on that, really quick. So I was doing a party this weekend, and I made sure like my I always email my DJ like the timeline of the music, and I'm like, I want to make sure you got everything. Let me know if you need anything on my end. And he's like, no, I'm good. I got everything. So we're doing our adult set. It was bar mitzvah, and the adults are dancing, and we're doing our adult set. They wanted Beatles and everything. So we're playing like our rock set and everything, and we're playing Shake It Up Baby. We're doing that. So he goes to drop the song, and I'm out there and I'm emceeing, and he drops the song, and I don't even know what version he has, and I have to get him to email it, because I literally was laughing on the microphone. I couldn't grab my phone to like Snapchat this, but all of a sudden Pitbull is like in the middle of it, and he's like shake, 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 and I was like, what just happened to like my song? Like I was like,
it's the Mentarosa chant, because I've seen it in several songs where they'll just drop it in.
I was like, I don't know what I'm feeling right now. Like that's all I kept saying in the microphone was like, I don't know what I'm feeling right now.
Shake. He says shake. It's all you gotta do. When Pitbull says shake, you shake.
And my DJ is looking at me like, what? What's the problem? I'm playing the song you wanted. But what's funny is, as soon as the kids heard that, they all came running from their tables. Screw the chicken fingers. They all came running from their tables. Like, not during the set. They didn't want to hear the old people music, but as soon as they heard like the Pitbull,
something they could relate to,
they all came running. So now they're dancing, even though half of it was like the Beatles, playing, but then all of a sudden Pitbull was like mixed, and I was like, oh my god, if I hear Little John's voice in the middle of this, that's it, I'm dropping the mic. Like I was,
okay.
Like I was like, and my DJ was like, I've had this like forever, since my radio days. He's like, I just thought you would probably like this, and I was like, you gotta give me fair warning when you're dropping like this, because this was so like out of left field. But what's funny was, the kids all came running. They literally just dropped their chicken fingers, and they're like, oh yeah, come on, let's just get out there and just start dancing, because they heard something that was familiar to them, but it didn't phase my adults, because they still heard their beat and they were shaking it up, baby. Yeah. So the two
people hear different things at the same time.
Right. And I'm just like this. I'm like, I don't know what I'm feeling. I don't know what I'm feeling. I don't know which way I want to go. I don't know what I'm feeling. I don't know about, like, I was like this, and my dancers are looking at me, and I was like, you guys just go, because I'm so confused right now. I was like, I don't know what genre I want to go with. So you guys just take over. But I mean, I agree with that. You have to know your music. You have to know what to play. And I do the same thing as MJ. I mean, not that song in particular, but I am going to get it from him. And I think I'm going to drop it at a club one time and see if it works. But I mean, I do the same thing. You know, I'll play like a Build Me Up Buttercup or, you know, other things and have that like, you know, that beat behind it. And on, you know, I even have like, you know, like Lovely Day and things like that with like that beat behind it with, you know, it just bangs. So it's like my adults are into it, but it still has that beat. So later in the night when the young ones are a little bit drunk, they hear it and they're just dancing to it. But my old ones are still jamming because they know the song. So I love playing those type of songs that have that. And it's like the best of both worlds for everybody. But it's knowing your music. It's knowing your genres. It's even when you're younger, it's knowing your history. And it's knowing your history of music.
So I remember with my DJ lessons, I always say, you know, two of the biggest things is reading the crowd and knowing your music. And I don't just mean knowing even genres, know the version of the song you have. Like Shaney didn't know that guy was going to drop that version. But he probably 4 songs before that, like a good DJ, had probably set that up and set that up.
He's like, Shaney's going to love it.
Yeah, he's probably snickering and the whole thing going, she's going to go nuts. She's going to
love it.
It's Pitbull. Of course she is.
But it's Pitbull.
Yeah.
We know how she is with Pitbull. Ask Dan on his comment.
I had so many comments I wanted to do the picture, Dan, but I'm like, after Shaney's, nothing would be funny. You know,
I purposely, when I did that, I'm like, she's going to call it Serato Face. She's going to call it Serato Face. I know it.
I know you didn't do Serato, so I couldn't.
Well, or you were going to call it VDJ Face or something,
right,
you know.
But I was like, I didn't want to really say that.
Yeah, Dan uses Serato also.
Yeah, I wasn't then, but yes, I do.
Yeah.
Oh,
I use both.
I'm going to say Serato Face on that.
Yeah.
You could have.
But I didn't because of the way you commented on it, the way you said it. I wanted to go off of your comment of the way, if you just put the picture and you just were like, caption this, then I would have just said Serato Face. Mm-hmm. This is what Serato Face looks like when you're in the zone. Like, that's exactly what I would just said. This is when you're literally in the zone and you don't realize it, but it's okay because you are like in the zone. But then I was like, oh, I got to go off of what he's saying about being in the mix and like what it is. So that's why I was like, Despacito. Wait, no. Yeah, no. Maybe. Okay. Oh, no, I have 20 seconds left. What do I do? Pitbull.
So for those of you in the chat room or just watching this, I have no idea, obviously, what we're talking about. I had a photographer friend share a picture of me. Just headphones were on, and I was just
very serious.
You could tell I was intensely looking or doing something, trying to figure out. And I think at the time I was looking for what song I was going to play and just kind of really thinking through it. So that's what it was.
It was good though. It was a good picture, but you look fly.
It was really good.
Fly. That tie.
I was matching the colors. They were using.
Yeah, it was a good picture.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know where we want to go with this in the last so many minutes. Because there's so many things going on in the chat room right now. You guys need to relax.
They're going off. On
I understand you want to make the industry something, you know, incredible, but it flat out is this is a business that you can do uneducated. So I always say this. My friend Ed said this. He goes, it's a job where you don't need to be educated to do it. So it tends to attract uneducated people.
Look, guys, I live in Chicago, in like one of the biggest cities when it comes to clubs and bars and everything. And I mean, I DJ alongside of people like DJ Flipside. If you guys don't know, like Trentino, who was like one of the Red Bull. I mean, I can name a whole bunch of DJs that came out of Chicago that are still spinning in the club, that have won Red Bull 3-and-3 competitions, that won stuff. They're still in the club. And I could show you text messages that I've had conversations with them, and they're fighting the same fight I'm fighting about undercutting DJs in the club. Exactly what you guys are talking about. I'm not going to say the word you're saying because I'm on the mic right now, but you're talking about doo-doo brown DJs. And I'm dealing with it too in the club. I already know what my worth is, but you guys understand. Promoters, club owners, they don't care. They do what they want to do. So the only thing you guys can do instead of complain about it is try to work somewhere else like I'm doing all the time now. I'm not even at the same spots that I was a year ago. I'm not even the same spots I was probably the last time I talked to you guys about my club gigs 3 weeks ago. I'm at new spots now because I had to.
Yeah, you have to evolve with this business all the time. If you're not, you're just going to lose. You're going to starve.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why my main money is my private events for me. You know, that's why my main money is my private events. And that is like my secondary income because, you know, thank God I can do that. That is their main income. That is Flipside's main income. That is Trentino's. That is Metro. That is all their main income. Thank God I'm not like that. And my main income is my private events. And when I'm not working my private events, it is that. But I'm dealing with it just like everybody else. So I get what you guys are talking about. And it's like that everywhere. And it's going to keep going like that. Because why? Because anyone's a DJ. We just talked about it at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
That was how we started the show.
Think about how many weekend handymans there are. Think about how many weekend mechanics there are. Think about how many people that cut hair for their friends that are taking jobs away from other people. It's just what it is. It is literally just what it is.
And I think you're going to see more of that as things continue, because there's this, as you start studying how small businesses work, the trend right now is basically to have, they refer to it as like the one-hit pony, basically, that you're going to have something and you're going to do it, and you're going to do it for a little period of time, but then you're going to get to, or one-trick pony, excuse me. Once you've done that, now you have to recreate yourself. You have to you're going to have to go and do something else. And, you know, Shanie's talking about that she was working these clubs and now things have evolved and now she's working these clubs, or she's doing something different. She had to change herself. She had to evolve. Let's look at some recent examples. Well, if you watch the movie Why Him, is a prime example of the main character in a movie created this video game and made $1 bazillion off it. And then they were a one-trick pony there where they couldn't come up with a second thing. So he had to go and do something else in a completely different industry. You're seeing the same thing in current gaming with Pokemon as a prime example. They came in, they made their money. Now they're going to have to do something else because you can't ride that wave. Facebook is unusual that way because Facebook and some of these have been able to float and continue on way past the time that many people thought they would, because they are trying to redo and recreate themselves with different purchases and different things. But as DJs, that's what we have to do. And sometimes age pushes us to recreate ourselves into a different type of performer. Sometimes we have to go to a different audience. Sometimes we have to go to a different genre. Sometimes we have to do things differently, one way, shape, or the other. And I think one of the biggest problems we have as we get older is that we don't want to change. We are kind of stuck in our ways. We liked what we did yesterday when we were making some money. And now we're going to use that and we're going to blame and become obsessive with those competitors. We talked about that last week on a couple of shows. I'm obsessed with watching my competitors and seeing what they're doing, that I lose focus of creating for my customers and being able to create something new and unique and doing something different for maybe different customers even, which is going to make me successful for the next 6 to 9 to 18 months. And then I'm going to have to do something else. I have to create again. It's just the way it is.
The club industry always used to have the 1,000-day rule. Yep. So you're talking, you know, around 3 years, whatever you're doing is no longer relevant. And the old saying is, what got you here today will not get you there tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I don't care what you're doing. Business itself changes, especially in the digital age, and the type of tools you even use. Just forget about that we're DJs. We're running a business that has to change. And you just have to. You have to learn and grow. Or
don't worry about them.
Yeah.
Worry about you. And what you're doing and how you're evolving and what you're doing to change. Because if you don't change, then you're not going to be able to push yourself forward and move yourself forward. And it's like that even in the private, industry and in the weddings and the private market and everything else that we're doing. And, seeing how things evolve. And I mean, like Dan just got the new EV speakers. And the setup and people are getting new systems and new speakers and new setups for new seasons and things like that. And what are you doing to evolve yourself to put, and you guys understand. I mean, when you meet with your clients, I'm sure they asked you, how are you different than DJ Doo Doo Brown? I met with DJ Doo Doo Brown. How are you different than him? And instead of sitting there and putting DJ Doo Doo Brown down, talk about yourself. Mm-hmm. Try not to put somebody else down because that makes you look bad. Talk about, well, you know what? I don't really know DJ Doodoo Brown, or, you know what, DJ Doodoo Brown's a really good guy, but I can tell you about myself, and I can tell you how I can make your event an incredible event if I'm your DJ. And if, you know, and that's, again, talking about going to conferences and bettering yourself and going to the DJ conferences and looking at the new gear and getting your education and doing, you know, and networking with other DJs and talking to people. And I really think that that's really the way to go for people.
This whole thing, we're getting down to like our last 10 minutes. And this is where I wasn't sure if I wanted it to go here. Now, first off, I want to say in the chat room, we're all in this together. Be nice to each other. You know, I understand we see things differently, but be nice to each other because we're all in this together. But the thing is that
High School Musical right there. We're all in this together. Sorry. I did Kids Party.
I wasn't going to stop you from singing. I was going to let you keep going on. But it takes us to the last thing, and I'm gonna let this simmer here, and we're gonna let it simmer for a whole week. Next week is the first Monday, and every first Monday we do open question night, and we've kind of discussed in the background of our show that is the last show we've actually planned out because we don't know where this show's going to go. And we've only thought and planned to next week. So with the industry changing, we as a show may have to change somehow. We don't know. We're not saying we are. We're just saying that we're really considering some stuff right now. And in this week, in this interval between this week and next week, I want you to think about what you would want from us, because we are now, everything is on the table for us. It could be everything from next week is the last show ever, to we only do one show a month, or maybe the show's done with, you know, 3 of us or 2 of us, or Shani gets her own show, which I saw that spinoff coming a long time ago. I don't know. You know,
she'll be at the Laverne and Shirley to our happy days.
It's like,
as long as she's not the Joey Tribbiani,
I was going to say,
no. Like the Law and Order spinoff number 4. No,
we're like in sync, and she's.
I want Ice-T with me then.
we're in sync, and she's Justin, and we know it, and that's all there is to it.
No. Are you Joey? Who are you?
So that's where we're at with this. So as the industry changes, we have to look at things too, because our end of it as news and media people is changing. So, you know, we've already embraced a whole new format. If you've not followed us over on chew.tv, we're doing a lot of great stuff over there. John just did another show tonight with 70s music. It's the second edition of 70s music, covering, again, for those of you who maybe don't know what good 70s songs you can run to, but that's a whole nother thing we're going to address another area as it grows. So that's what I'm laying on the table now. What for next week's open question night, those of you who follow us on a regular basis, you better come with something, or I don't know. I have no answer to what will happen if you don't come with something. So I don't know. Maybe I'll get stupid that night. I don't know. Stupider, but
do the stupid dance.
Let's do the stupid
dance.
But that's where we're at with this. And like I said, I'm glad that we kind of went all over the place with this, because I do believe that the industry itself is all encompassing and changing, both for the mobile and the club and the bedroom and the novice and just the fan of DJs. Like I said, I think, John, where can I maybe post that link to the interview with DJ Jazzy Jeff?
You can put it in the description of the video.
All right, because he really breaks down a length of change as a DJ. And I'm not talking a scratch DJ or a club DJ. He looks at it from when he started prior to hip-hop, playing funk records and jazz, his dad's jazz records and stuff like that, and where it's evolved to now. And I think it's something that I think a lot of DJs need to see and show a reality to those who actually go, I already know everything, or I already got enough skills, because things are changing. And yes, Reggie, it's a Honda shirt. I actually used to race, and I still own a motorcycle, and I ride, and so there you go. That's never going to change. Right, ride or die.
I think the interesting thing about the Jazzy Jeff interview and such is that a lot of the things he's talking about are things that we have been talking about on occasion, different aspects of that and how it's changed our dance floor and the dynamics that have changed with the digital era coming through. And it's the number of people who want to argue those facts. I mean, it literally, some of the play changes we've had to make in the last 10 to 15 years are direct resultant of the technology coming into mainstream. And yet you have some people who will argue that that's just not the way you do it. You play X, Y, and Z, and you do this, that, and the other thing. And again, that evolving and recreating yourself, it has to be kind of an ongoing thing. And if it's not, you're not going to be as successful as you once were, for sure, if you're going to stay in business.
I think one of the things I struggle with and always have struggled with, and I think sometimes it's the math brain in me, if you will, is that I tend to be very.
C. The answer is C.
I tend to be very kind of methodical and very almost. I don't want to say robotic because that's kind of the wrong term, but just kind of very, very intentional in the way that I kind of set some things up, and I've really challenged myself over the past couple of years, especially. I used to use the same script, the same spiel. When I was doing the cake cutting, I was always saying this kind of thing. When I was doing introductions, I was always saying this, and then what I think really kind of got in my head of, hey, I needed to change this was I was at a wedding where in the bridal party was somebody's wedding I had done like 2 years ago. And so I knew that they were obviously at their own wedding when they did it a couple years ago. And here they are again. And I was fearful of what they were going to think of me if I did this same spiel, because then I'm no longer being unique and being special to them. So it's really kind of ingrained in me. All right, you've got to start thinking of new things. You need to start thinking of different ways to say stuff. And it becomes very nerve-wracking now, because then I get on the microphone and I'm like, oh crap, now I got to do something different. And what if this doesn't go over the way the other one did? And again, it goes back to that math brain in me. I'm just like, I get a little, my anxiety goes up a little bit just from thinking of having to do that. But it's the nature of what we got to do.
I've always said, there's just certain sayings that they're just like Shaney sayings that I always say at parties. Like, that's never going to change for me. So I get that. Like, I'm all, they're just like, I'm always going to say them, they're just like Shaney-isms, I call them.
Well, there's sayings, and there's when you do too much of the same thing.
Right. I mean, and I'm not going to lie, even when I introduce the bar mitzvah boy, I could do it right now for you. It's just, it's just kind of the same thing I always say. And it's funny because now when I'm DJing for other MCs, I'm like, did he just gank my intro? Verbatim, even said man, myth, legend, the way I just said it at the end, and put it exactly where I put it. Could you at least put it somewhere else the way I said it, and even crescendoed where I crescendo? So when I heard the third MC say it the way I say it, I was like, okay, I get it that you're supposed to be flattered when they gank it, but now I was mad. I was pissed. I was because I've been saying it for 20 something years, that I was okay, I think maybe it's time to change my intro, because I've been saying it so long that now all these up and coming MCs that have seen me do my thing and seen videos and seen promos are oh, I like the way Shaney does it, I'm gonna say the way Shaney says it, and they're verbatim, the young crew are saying it the way I said. So I get that, and I'm that's not flatter to me now that they're ganking my stuff. So I get that, I get it. And sometimes I fall back and I say the same thing again, and I get back into the old Shaney way, and I'll be like, and the man, the myth, and I'll just totally say it the way I say it. I'll be like, yeah, I went old school. Oh, wow. So I get it. You got to change it somehow.
No, we never change. We don't want to change.
I know.
Don't make me change.
I think that's why in life I don't like change so much, because in the industry and my job, it's a constant observation of things changing. So it's like outside of that, I want things to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm dating a girl and she's a brunette and all of a sudden she shows up blonde, oh, it's over. It is done.
But then you just made a change in the girl because now she's no longer there. So you double the changed.
I would rather have. Well, see, I've spent more time alone, so it's kind of reverting back to nothing. That's my fallback. It's
Going back to the status
I don't know what I'm feeling right now.
I think we should end. I think we
Beatles
should.
song again. I don't know what I'm feeling right now.
Shake, 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 shake,
shake, shake, shake, shake. I don't know what I'm feeling right
Let's
now.
just drop some Pitbull and make it all better now. Come on.
John, save us and take us out.
Oh, thank you guys for being with us tonight. Tomorrow night is trick-or-treating night, and there will be no shows on tomorrow night because we are going to take the kids out trick-or-treating.
Halloween.
And have happy Halloween, and we're going to come home and veg on a Tuesday night. Wednesday night, we will be back. MJ, you're going to be doing what Wednesday night?
I am doing recently. For those of you who watch this show and aren't a part of our DJNTV Insiders area, you need to go and join that because in there, not just because of what I'm doing, but there's a lot of great stuff. But on there, I've recently started sharing my redrums for everyone to just take and use for whatever they want. And someone asked me, "Hey, how do you do that?" And I answered with a simple thing. I said it's easy with the right tools, but I decided I'm going to do a show on Wednesday night on how to do redrums with the right tools and show you how to.
Nice.
So that'll be at 9 o'clock Eastern, and then 10 o'clock Eastern, Jeremy and Dave will be back talking wedding chat for the wedding DJs out there. And then sometime over the weekend, I've got to be doing one more live music show to get caught up with these promo-only things because the next two, we're going to be looking at 2002 and 1999. And I want to get ahead of those and set up properly. So just keep an eye out. We'll put it on the social media and such when that works out there. It's going to be Friday or Saturday or what have you. But I'm off this weekend, so I was thinking, maybe we'll get a shot of one of those. And maybe I'll see if Howie's available and Howie and I can reminisce about 1999 music. That'd be fun. So once again, thank you for watching and being with us tonight. And we'll see you Wednesday. Good night, everyone.
Happy Halloween.